Hey folks, Gary here with Paramount. It is 3:17 a.m. You guys ever laid in bed and just, your brain's turning and, you're talking to yourself, you're having these conversations with people that aren't there, or things that you wish you said, you done, you can't sleep. Well, that was definitely me tonight. You know what, let's first of all start off with some positives. So first of all, I just want to get on here and thank you all. In the last few weeks, we've had 2.9 million views. We've had 45,000 new subscribers, 515,000 hours of watch time. Huge. And I want to thank everybody out there. And again, generally, largely so, hugely supportive on our channel. So I just really appreciate the support on that. If I've been able to bring anybody any clarification, or I don't know, if I've been helpful in some way on this, that makes me happy. Look, YouTube doesn't pay my bills. Most of our videos are demonetized. So, I don't do this because, we're making some killing. We're not, anyways, we're not a huge channel. This was never about making money. What I started this channel about was the fact that, I wanted to share my passion with people, get people more educated about firearms, get people into being more self-sufficient, understand the Second Amendment, all those things, being able to defend yourself and your family, making people and educating people to realize that when seconds count, the government is many minutes away. And that we as Americans, we shouldn't rely on government. And that's one of the many things that's wrong with this country right now. So that's what this channel's always been about. I want to share my passion. I think it's important. And I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do too. And YouTube was something that I avoided for a long time. I didn't like the idea of what I thought of when it came to the stereotype of gun tubers or all these others. I avoided it forever. And then reluctantly during COVID, is when, I had clients saying, hey, look, there was a period of time there where we weren't training. We didn't know when the end was coming as far as the lockdowns and all that stuff. And I had clients saying, hey, Gary, it'd be cool if you made some videos. So we started making a couple of videos, dipped my toe in it, and it kind of grew from there. And again, I felt we were having a positive impact in all the things that I believe that I'm passionate about personally. So that's where we were. We had all this stuff go on with the assassination attempt of President Trump. And I knew some folks that worked in the Secret Service. And I will tell you right now, the first week or so, I was 100% on board. As a matter of fact, you can go look through some of our shorts. I know there was one video I posted looking out the window onto the roof of the AGR building. And I was like, oh, look, this would be a great place for a patsy to be. And if I was going to take a shot at the president, I would do it from this window, and we have a patsy essentially to take the blame down the bottom. So I was 100% in that conspiracy realm. The more I looked into things, the more that I looked at the facts, and I started to steelman my own position on some of these things. Like, why, if this was a grand conspiracy, why did it fail? Asking questions like, oh, if they were helping this guy out, why didn't they give him a $200 magnified optic and maybe a case of training ammo? Just started asking some basic questions. But anyways, and then I had the interview with a friend of mine that is also a former counter sniper team member with the Secret Service. And if you haven't watched that video, I'm gonna link it up there. Please go watch it. I think it brings some perspective that a lot of people just aren't aware of. I know I kind of thought I knew what I was going into with that, but I didn't. And I walked away with looking at things through a different set of eyes. And look, that is not a defense. Even while we're doing that, and this is within the first couple of days of this event, even while we're doing that, he's like, hey, this was massive failures. This is what should have happened. This is what didn't happen. All of those things. Not a defense of the Secret Service whatsoever. As a matter of fact, a very strong condemnation. And then we found out more information later on, and he called me back and he's like, it's even worse than I thought. And all throughout that video, I talk about, hey, look, we got to hold government accountable. So that went on. I made some additional videos, and they've been very successful. And again, I hope they've been helpful to everybody out there. And then I also reached out to, people kept flooding my comments of, peak prosperity. You got to go check this out. And of course I did. And I looked at Chris Martinson's analysis. There were some things that I didn't agree with on his analysis, but I could tell he was a super smart guy. And I think and I still do, that he was 100% sincere in getting to the truth. So I reached out to them, and out of the, shot in the dark. We're a super small channel compared to them. Didn't think anyone was going to contact me back, but they did. And we ended up setting something up. I ended up talking to Chris on the phone. Great conversation. Loved talking to the guy. And then we ended up doing a joint live stream, which I thought, and what we talked about was, us having a conversation, talking amongst ourselves, having it live, giving people the ability to ask questions there at the end and all these other things. And overall, I thought it went pretty good. I think looking back on some things, I definitely could have done some things better. Look, I'm not a news person. I'm not an investigator. I'm not a professional interviewer. I'm not any of these things. Number one, I have a lot of respect for Chris. Chris has a huge channel, over 500,000 subscribers. And then, on top of that, I was basically hosting this thing, and we were trying to make sure that that stream was going to stream through all the different things that he was doing. I'd never done that before. And I'll tell you, I was really worried. I was really worried about that working. I would have felt really bad if that didn't work. And there was no way to find out until the moment that we hit go live. Luckily it worked. But that was something I was stressed out about, to be honest with you. And if I'm being honest with you, there was some pressure, or maybe I was even a little nervous, given that he has such a huge audience. And one of the things that Joe Rogan always tells his guests when they come on is like, man, don't read the comment. But curiosity got the best of me. I wanted to go see what was being said in his comments on that video. And there's a lot of interesting things being said. And again, I love Chris. I hope that we can do this again, and I hope we can do it better. Some of the things were very valid. Some of the things I said was like, hey, all this guy does is talk. I was nervous. I probably talked more than I should. Probably had diarrhea of the mouth. There was lots of things that I could have done better. The other thing I don't think most people realize is that also while you're doing the live stream, on the right-hand side are all the comments, and they're constantly going. And in my mind, I want to make sure that we're including the audience, and I'm looking at their questions. And as I'm talking to Chris, and by the way, look, here's the camera, up here's my monitor. That's probably not the best setup, but that's how I have it right now. So, as I'm looking and I'm trying to talk to Chris, I'm seeing all these comments, I'm getting distracted easy because of ADD. So a lot of times when I'm really thinking about something, or I'm trying to articulate or be careful about how I phrase things, I'm looking down here, and there were some comments about he won't even look you in the eye. I'm not looking anybody in the eye. Up here, I'm looking him in the eye. Here, I'm looking at a camera. This would be the perception of the eyes. Again, this is not a professional studio. And look, all that's fine. I'm trying to get better at this stuff. I'm just a small business owner trying to make a living for my family and trying to do what's right by God and country. That's who I am. But disappointingly, what about half the comments were about was things to the effect of, who is this guy? He's a government this, he's glowy, he's that, he's, all these things. I'm trying to spread misinformation. I'm part of this conspiracy. What you're saying when you say things like that is that because I don't agree with you, or I don't see the evidence that I have spent hundreds of hours at this point poring over, and because we don't see eye to eye on the facts, or we're not interpreting the facts the same way, without actually having the courage to do it directly, what you're calling me is a traitor. You're calling me a traitor to my country, that I am somehow wrapped up in this and I want to try to point blame somewhere else because I don't see the way that you do. That's disappointing coming from our side, right? Because I think most people are, and I'm not trying to lump everybody into groups or anything else, but generally speaking, I'm a hardcore conservative, libertarian, whatever you want to say it. But that's what we see on the left. That these personal attacks because you think differently than me on this issue because, I have a certain background, I have a certain things that I do that have formed very educated and experience-based opinion, that because I don't come to the same conclusions you do, that I'm a traitor to my country. That's what you're saying. So if we want to get to the truth, we probably shouldn't shut down the conversation. I'm just sitting up there laying in bed. I'm like, Jesus, man, do people really think that? You start questioning everything. Like, why am I doing this? But why? Why would I have somebody question the loyalty of me to my country? For what? For what? Because I think that we have a lot of nonsense that I think that is distracting us, that I think that some of this stuff to me isn't even plausible. It doesn't make sense. I think if we're serious about finding the truth, like we got to stop doing that. The other part of this, you know, I keep getting accused of defending the Secret Service, or I don't even know what. It's not necessarily true. But what I am careful about is the same thing that I'm talking to you about. What we're saying is, and look, most of the Secret Service that are on counter sniper teams, that are on CAT teams, you know, these are people that have served their country for their entire lives. You know, most of these people are former military, got out of the military, took a job, and are out there working every single day. Man, the counter sniper teams, you guys have no idea what their job is. They're out in the hot sun, insane shifts, sitting either on top of the White House or going overseas. They don't get to see their family. But please, go watch that interview where you can have a little bit of empathy for these people before you sit there and say that they are a traitor. They're knowingly complicit and knowingly complicit to take out a former president. That those are the people. Look, if there is a conspiracy for a patsy, the Secret Service isn't involved. That is another government agency altogether. Those guys and girls on the ground that are working their lives away, that are losing families over the work that they do to serve this country, maybe some of them are traitors. But I think we need to pause and be really careful before we start accusing somebody of that, because you have no ability to see these people as people right now. Let's take a second to say they're not traitors. Let's just take that off the table for a moment. These are men and women that have these long careers, that have given everything, worked unbelievable hours, done unbelievably hard work, day in and day out, serving this country. And because of a massive failure, without a doubt, some of it is probably not even their fault. You know, again, the counter sniper teams, they didn't get to pick those positions. They normally do. Normally they're part of the advance. They weren't. There's a lot of failures going on, but most of those failures were not the people there on the ground. And I'm telling you right now, I would bet anything, my life on it, that those people, if there is some sort of conspiracy, it wasn't because the counter sniper teams of the Secret Service just let the guy get in position and we just watched him. There were some failures there. There's no doubt about it. I mean, this is destroying their lives, folks. These, again, entire careers, nothing but success. Thousands upon thousands of successful missions, all these different events they've done successfully. And now this one failure is going to define their lives and their careers. I mean, I have no idea what it's doing to them personally right now. But I know it's not good. And we're just so callous that you think that they just threw it all away so that they could, I don't even know what. That's the problem with this. I don't know what the theories are. I don't know what you guys think are taking place. The government needs to be held accountable, but we also need to be careful about how we go about this. And, you know, it's crazy to me, and this is why the left wins, because they are so monolithic. They are vote blue, no matter who. We on the right, we eat our own, and now we're eating people that have done nothing but serve and protect our country the entire time, and we are calling them the worst possible thing that you could call someone, and that's a traitor. I'm not a traitor. I have no idea what went on. I'm not involved with any sort of government thing. I have a long history. You go through our podcast, Dangerous Liberty, and you can see the things that I talk about every single week. And I promise you, I am not a traitor. I'm not part of a government conspiracy. I'm trying to go where the truth leads me. And if you don't agree with that, and you call me a traitor, you are a piece of garbage. I'm sorry, but you are. You are a piece of garbage, and you are just like the people on the left, because you don't care about the truth. You care about your narrative getting pushed. And if somebody's not pushing your narrative, then they're less than garbage, because that's what you're calling people. You know, many of you think some things that I think are, personally, I think are just so implausible, so crazy, that I think, honestly, they're part of an information operation. Now we're chasing down Kaiser Sose or Maxwell Urich or whatever we got, like all this crazy stuff. And yet, and it's 99.9% speculation. I think that if you do want to get to the truth, that's not the way to go about it. You know, there was another thing that came up in the comments. I was just trying to be funny. I thought it was an obvious joke. You know, we are a small channel. He has over 500,000 subscribers. I said, oh, you know, here we got Chris coming on, you know, when I introduced Chris, I said, oh, they got a small channel, and people took offense to that. Like, I was joking. They're under no measure that is his channel small. Like, that was not offensive. I was not trying to be offensive whatsoever. And yeah, you know, I probably got nervous. I probably had diarrhea of the mouth. I probably did some things wrong, and I'll continue to work on those. This is not what I do for a living. I'm just doing this because I care about our country, and I'm doing what I can. And the only reason I'm shooting this video, this is not, hey, feel sorry for Gary. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna go back to bed now that I got this off my chest. This is more to protect the men and women out there that are doing the best they can at a really, really difficult job. And maybe some of them are actually guilty of treason. But I think you need to be very careful before you start throwing those types of accusations around. And really understand, and seriously, whatever you believe, whatever theory you believe, start steel manning it. Come up with the different reasons that you might be incorrect. And after sincerely, you know, challenging your own beliefs or having somebody else that thinks differently than you do, challenge those beliefs and really sit down and say, hey, is this correct? Because what I'm putting forward has some really big implications that will ruin people's lives if I'm wrong. Because that's what we're doing. Just understand that. And I'm all about holding the government accountable. Again, I got a long record. You know, I find it's shocking. It's shocking to me when somebody says, you know, this guy's a government whatever. Anyways, you know, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And if you think that, because I think it's important, and I think that the vast majority, of course, you know, I'm gonna get that 2, 3, 4%, whatever the percentage is of the crazies down in the comments. I get it. And most of that usually doesn't bother me, but when you call me a traitor, it kind of bugs me. Bugs me a lot, actually, to where I'm losing sleep over it. There's no doubt about it. And look, if you disagree with me, that's fine. Let's talk about it. I try my best to have those conversations down in the comments, but I also want to make sure that we're having some civil discourse. And if you're sincere about finding the truth, that's what it takes. That's what it's going to take, is a little bit of respect and a little bit of empathy, and making sure that you're seeing the facts from as many perspectives as possible, even the ones that you don't agree with, right? So anyways, appreciate everybody's love and support. Don't worry, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. But anyways, make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you join us on Wednesdays for our live podcast, where you can tell me I'm wrong up in the comments, and we can have a real conversation in real time. And, you know, make sure that this channel is a community of people that want the best for our country, even if we completely disagree on many different topics. Anyways, until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.